All right, everyone, Trump's travel ban is now in full effect. The Supreme Court weighed in and said, okay, yeah, the travel ban can go into effect while the Ninth and Fourth Circuits debate the issue. We'll wait until we get those cases to make a decision, but for now, the travel ban's in effect. 7-2 decision. Didn't boil down along ideological lines. I'm going to warn the Ninth Circuit's going to shoot itself in the foot, because if you send this to the Supreme Court, if you say, okay, we're striking the travel ban down again, sending it off to the Supreme Court justices, they're going to side with Trump. And you'll just have permanently handed, by the way, Trump and all of the future presidents, barring constitutional amendment, the unilateral power to ban people from countries, and it'll be guaranteed. It won't be presidents have done this and been unchallenged, like Jimmy Carter banned travel from Iran for years. Nobody had a problem, nobody challenged it, and so there was no legal decision to be made. It wasn't enshrined that the president had that power because no actual judicial decision had been made. You're going to enshrine it, because this is a bellwether for how the Supreme Court's going to decide the case. Look, if they had a big problem with the travel ban, you get two left-leaning judges, center-left justices, saying, yeah, it's okay if it gets instated while we wait for the Ninth Circuit and Fourth Circuit to decide. Well, that's a bellwether. If they had a big problem with it, they would vote against it. They would say, no, we're going to keep the ban of the ban in effect until the decisions come here, and then we'll resolve it ourselves. They would have done that. It'd be like a 5-4 decision. It's not. It's a 7-2. I would say to the Ninth Circuit, be very careful how you word your decision and what you do. You may want to find in favor of Trump just to keep the Supreme Court from actually ruling on it, so there will be no further challenge. Specifically so that it doesn't end up enshrined at the top judicial level. Take one for the team and enshrine it at the federal level. Because it's clear, those decisions get overturned all the time. So in the future, if you have something that's actually tyrannical, it can then be looked at by the Supreme Court. Instead of having the Supreme Court considering the past Supreme Court decision in a roundabout way like they have done occasionally through time. This is an enormous win for Trump. And by the way, this is not a Muslim ban. Number one, it doesn't involve the majority of Muslim nations in the world. Number two, it also bans people who aren't Islamic from these nations. Like you do realize they're like Zoroastrians in Iran. Well, they can't travel here either. Yazidi in Syria, Christians in these places, Jews. They're not going to be able to travel either. You know, there's a Hindu minority in some of these countries. You do realize it's not 100% Islamic. The largest Islamic population in the world, by the way, is Southeast Asia. It's in Indonesia. Islam's never been a race. The same people that say, well, Islam is a tolerant cosmopolitan religion, but it's also a race. Okay, so when you think of it, you're going to call me xenophobic for having no problem with the travel ban, so it's okay. But you're the one who thinks that there's some commonality in the culture between Somalia and Indonesia simply because there happen to be majority Islamic nations. Even the way Islam's practiced is different. There's a difference between the Shiite in Iran, how they practice their religion, and a Sunni, a Wahhabi, or a Sufi, or somebody who's, some Alawite on the margins of Islam who has pagan elements within their practice. Big difference between these groups of people. You think they're all the same. Like you think of Islam, I guess you think of oil squirting up out of the ground or pyramids or something. That's not the way that it works. It's like saying, well, Christianity is all about white, blonde-haired, Germanic-looking people worshiping a white, blonde-haired, Germanic Jesus. Well, what about the Coptics? What about the Ethiopian church? What about all... It doesn't make any sense. You're so hypocritical. And by the way, the Supreme Court is going to side with Trump. I can give you a 99% chance of it. That's my prediction. If this goes to the Supreme Court, they say, well, we still have a problem with this travel ban. The president doesn't have the power to do this in some way. The Supreme Court will try to limit its decision if it's smart. I really hope they do, because otherwise they give unfettered power over immigration to future presidents. That could be its own problem. Because then you can get some, by the way, to the right, you should be against them being too extensive with their decision too. Gorsuch and people need to understand this. You might give it to someone who's really, really far left, says, okay, we're not going to have any border control, and I have the right to do this, and, I'm going to encourage travel from these countries and allocate money to it, and I can do whatever I want, because, the Supreme Court says so. It's within my perusal. It's within my purview to do this if I want. Be careful. Be restrained in your decision, and I think that's what they'll do. It'll be a restrained decision. They'll say this particular ban is legal because X, Y, and Z. These are ameliorating factors, but if he did X, Y, and Z, it might be something we'd have to reconsider it. Hopefully they'll do something like that. But a 7-2 doesn't boil down along partisan lines. By the way, remember, he might get another justice by the time the case gets to the Supreme Court. You realize how slow the judicial process can be? You know, Ginsburg is starting to act a little bit wonky. She's acting a little bit demented and has for a couple of years. How much longer is she going to stubbornly cling to that position? Probably until she keels over. Well, that could be within a month for all you know. She's what, 85 or something? I don't even know how old she is. You look at her. She falls asleep half the time in court. Yes, you get a couple liberal justices there that are on the younger side. Ginsburg's not one of them. You know, and by the way, Trump is likely to get 2 justices because I can't remember his name. There's one conservative justice who's really up there, Breyer, whatever, or was he the one that died? Is somebody else? One of the conservative justices is in their mid-80s or something, like 83. He could replace him with someone further right. You know, you're not, for the foreseeable future, barring like impeachment and removal, which I don't think happens. They're crowing right now about Mueller. He subpoenaed some bank documents to get access to what Trump did with some money. Who fucking cares? The left's been talking about that for over a year now, and it will come to nothing. You're not going to get rid of him through that venue. You're going to have to vote him out come the next election in 2020. Or you're going to have to hope that he, like, you know, he eats the next Big Mac, has a heart attack, and it's President Pence, which probably isn't going to happen either. Yeah, Hillary might go in the next few years. You know, she's already had feigning spells and a concussion and all sorts of problems. It has to wear stroke corrective lenses and stuff. Traumatic brain injury. No, you're going to have to play nice with the other children, and most people in D.C., they got an average age of maybe 4 or 5. I half expect these people to start urinating on their office doors to keep others from approaching. These people are a bunch of kids, and at best they act like a college dorm, a really weird one, like a total frat boy bro sort of thing. That's how they act, especially in the Senate at this point. Other than Rand, he's the kid that doesn't get invited to the parties because he'll start lecturing you on the Constitution, and they just want to drink and snort coke and fuck each other. But this is a huge win for Trump. 7-2 is not a close split. It's a split decision, but it's it's more unanimous than most Supreme Court decisions on such issues. For a very long time, it's been nothing but 5-4 decisions in all but the most obvious of cases. So for this to be beyond that shows me the court is setting a precedent for, hey, you know, if you send this decision to us, we're going to allow the travel ban. It's clear the president does have the ability, in the interest of national security, to temporarily halt immigration and tourism from states that have been destabilized. Now, you can say, well, it was U.S. policy that in part destabilized them. Yes, absolutely right. And so why would you want people from at least while instability reigns, people in a state that the United States kind of fucked over, like Syria? Why would you want people who probably viciously hate us for fucking up their country to come here and be peaceable? It's not the way things work. It's like I've warned in Europe, where they've got continuous attacks now. It's like a weekly basis. They have some bombing or truck attack or someone mass shooting, some other mass casualty incident, mass stabbing. The European governments are seen by some of the civilians there as partially responsible for the plight of their nations, especially the UK, where, what's his name there, the Piers Morgan lookalike that used to be their glorious leader, wanted to bomb Assad's forces along with the US. Obama wanted it too, and then the House of Commons wisely voted against it. And it's a sad day for the UK when we can't protect people from chemical weapons. Well, no, you're going to open up a can of worms. You destabilize the state further, even more people hate your fucking guts, and then you say, well, we need to take in these people because their country's ruined. Yeah, you're the one that ruined it. If someone burns my house down and then says, hey, you want to come live with me? I'm going to be like, what the hell are you talking about? I just wanted to live in my own house. You think that I'm going to forgive you for what you did because now you're inviting me over to play sleepover while I very slowly clear off the charred remains and maybe rebuild a hovel in its place and live in a tent? Yeah, thanks. I feel so positively towards you. I always wanted to be part of your family living under your roof. No, I had my own place, but you just destroyed it. I'm not going to feel positively towards you. That's really one reason that I support the travel ban, in large part. In fact, I would have gone further. I would have said more countries need to be added to the list. The duration should be longer. There definitely shouldn't be a bona fide relationship sort of bullshit going on. If someone's here as a resident, go ahead and proceed with the process of legalizing them completely, make them a citizen. But if somebody's just, oh yeah, I came over here as a refugee, We shouldn't be taking refugees from places we fucked up. It's a dangerous idea, I'm telling you. You know, it doesn't matter if it's 1 out of 10,000 people that actually might get violent. That's a problem, isn't it? I would think so. Trump has shrunk the number of refugees we're taking as a total anyway. I think didn't he cut it in half? I support that. Not because I'm heartless. I would like to see the U.S. leave these people alone in peace in their own countries. Leave the Syrians alone. Leave the Yemenis. Stop giving weapons to countries that are going to go invade their neighbors. Like the Saudi Arabians continue to try to destabilize Yemen. So instead, why don't you stop enabling them to do that? Lean on them to say, come on. You know, we just want the economy in the region to be okay and fucking just shut up. Who cares? Okay, Houthis took over. They're not Saudi friendly. Deal with it. Instead of making people's lives miserable, half these people you're killing are civilians. That was our problem. That's a mistake we made in Iraq. Most of the people who died were civilians. They weren't combatants. They weren't terrorists. They weren't Saddam loyalists. It's just regular people. Little kids and old women. Yeah, I'm sure that puts an endearing face on U.S. foreign policy. Sure doesn't make us look like the great Satan that some of these nations proclaim us to be. I wonder where they got the idea in Iran that we were satanic. I wonder where the Venezuelans got the idea that it was that we were a grave threat to their existence and might march in and bomb everything to shit at any given time. It's because we've done that. Over the last 20 years, we have consistently done that over and over again or enabled other states to do it. I wonder why the Russians marched into Syria. Could it be they were legitimately worried that we were about to raise holy hell in the region, get rid of Assad, install a puppet dictatorship? We've done it before. It doesn't matter if you install a rudimentary democracy either. It's not going to be stable. It's not something that people wanted. They were happy the way that things were. Their ways are not necessarily our ways. If some culture feels happy, they're like, well, we have no problem with having like a strong-arm dictator. Yeah, you can get abusive at times, but it's better than the alternative. Maybe we should trust the people that live there to know that that's a good idea. Maybe you're ethnocentric if you think that they're so dumb that they shouldn't be able to manage themselves. That's what I hear from the left increasing. Oh, we need to dickwag after the Russians, dickwag after the Iranians. Fuck Syria, we should bomb them, says Obama. Jesus, you're nuts. And then you don't even want to ban travel from the areas you're fucking up. I'd say that's like the worst possible thing you could do. That's about all. Peace out.